What's happening, everybody? Rachel West here along with Rick Stroud and Joey Knight. And guys, obviously the Bucs are coming off of an extremely disappointing loss in Pittsburgh last week, to say the least, headed to Carolina now this weekend. But within that game last week, Rick, we saw a lot of frustration come out, Brady chewing out the O-line, but we've gotten a chance to talk to them throughout this week about that. Is everything kind of compiling and just kind of like overflowing now? Is the frustration coming out, you think, with him?
I think so. I mean, this is the greatest competitor that's ever been in the NFL, and he hasn't started 3-3 very often. And it's not just that, it's the way it happened last week against a team that was, had a ton of injuries in the secondary. And the word you hear a lot is execution. We're going to talk about that. But in general, yeah, he got on his offensive line, and that's sort of who he is. He's a guy that's going to hold everybody accountable. I think he realizes that some of them are doing the best they can, that this is a work in progress. They don't have explosive plays. They're not blocking particularly well in the run game. They're 32nd in the league in terms of average runs. So I think this week in practice, whether it started in the game with Tom getting on his offensive line, and they seem to take it okay this week, I think there's a sense of urgency right now with his team, with his quarterback, and he's going to lead the way. He's going to be the guy that's going to be cracking the whip, because this is not acceptable with the Tom Brady quarterback team. Yeah,
for sure. And as you said, Robert Hainsey said, there's nothing else I'd rather see out of my quarterback than that. So, I mean, more power to you if there's nothing else you'd rather see than that. But Joey, as Rick mentioned, execution has really been a buzzword throughout this whole season when things haven't really gone according to plan. So does all of this and all the struggles boil down to execution, or does play calling factor into it a little bit as well?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of both, and that's just kind of the cliche answer, but I think there's some truth to that. Byron Leftwich on Thursday, the offensive coordinator, he was peppered pretty good about his play calling pattern and the things that they're trying to do and trying not to do. There's been a lot of criticism of what they do on first down, a lot of first down handoffs to Leonard Fournette on the left side. Not a lot of downfield shots. We don't see a lot of no risk it, no biscuit in this offense. As a matter of fact, Tom Brady's intended air yards, that advanced metric is about 7.5 yards per attempt. That's middle of the league, kind of lower in the league in terms of the NFL rankings. So there's play calling, there's some justifiable questions about that. But Byron and Tom Brady both kind of deflected that. They said, really, a lot of it's execution. If we execute those first down runs better, then that opens up a smorgasbord of plays for second down and things of that nature. They didn't give us a lot of specific answers when we asked them. Basically, they said we've got to change up some things. We got to keep chopping wood, another cliche. We got to work harder. We got to go back to the drawing board, things of that nature. So we'll see, but I think there is a mixture. I don't think they're executing very well, and I think the play calling is questionable. The bottom line, they go into Week 7 ranked last in the NFL in rushing yards and about 68 a game, and that's simply not going to cut it. So I think we will see some changes offensively, some mixed up things. It'll be interesting.
It is a new week, fresh start. They're in Carolina. And even though it is only Week 7, it does kind of feel like this is a must-win situation. So just how important of a game is this? And it's a division game on top of that.
Well, you just said it. I mean, they're all important, right? You only get 17 of these. But when you look at the fact that even despite their 3-3 start, they're tied for the division lead, but they have a one-game lead over Atlanta because they've beaten the Falcons. But really, other than last week, we thought Pittsburgh was the perfect opponent. They were devastated in the secondary with injuries, and they wound up losing that game. Carolina is a bigger mess. They fired their head coach. They now have Steve Wilks. Baker Mayfield isn't playing. Sam Darnold probably won't play this game. P.J. Walker is going to be their quarterback. They are not scoring, but this is the game to get healthy. This is where you let it all hang out. I think they've talked about what a good week of practice that they've had. There is a sense of urgency for all those things because, look, it doesn't get easier. This is going to be a short week after this game on Sunday. They play Thursday night against a really good Baltimore Ravens team and Lamar Jackson. So in 10 days, this season can kind of tilt either way. They don't want to go below 500. So I really think this is a game for them to get healthy, feel better about themselves, and maybe get 2 wins in 10 days.
Exactly. Huge game to say the least. So make sure you guys are keeping up with all of our coverage of it and leading up to it over on social media at Sports by Tampa Bay Times, as well as over at tampabay.com.